Hey guys, Creator Mom. I wanted to talk about the movie Where the Crawdads Sing. I don't know why I slept on this movie for so long. I think I had heard of it, but I just kept passing it up. But anyways, I finally watched it yesterday. It kind of just appealed to me. I was like, I'll check this movie out. I think it was under drama, thriller, or something. I'm like, well, let me see. So the way it starts off is that this young guy, probably 19, 20 years old, is found dead, right? In these marshes. Well, okay, so this movie is another example of a victim taking the bully in their own hands. And if you watch this movie, make sure you have a box of tissues with you because it is so good and it makes you cry in the best way. It's kind of like The Notebook, but it's better because it has a good storyline. Not that The Notebook doesn't, but whatever. So basically what happens is there's this family that lives in the marshes and they have this little cabin or whatever. It's the mom and dad and I think 5 brothers and sisters. Anyway, the main character is what in the beginning of the movie is this little girl. She's probably 7 or 8 years old. And the father is abusive. He's a violent alcoholic. Beats the shit out of the mother and the kids, but mostly the mother. Anyways, so in the beginning of the movie, you're already crying because you see this scene and then you see the mother leaving. She just leaves. She walks away. And this little girl is out in the yard what the hell? Mom, where are you going? And the mom is just I think that she got hit so bad that she got knocked out of her senses. Because later in the movie it says that after a year she remembered she had kids or something, but she tried to go back for them and the father threatened that he would beat the shit out of the kids if she tried to do something like that. So when you see the mom walking away and the girl's like, Mom, where are you going? I mean, right there, just wow, you're sobbing, because watching a child get abandoned, by their mom and being left with a violent alcoholic father. So anyways, little one by one, the older siblings also leave her. And then you're just crying and crying even more. The older sister leaves and she's like, where are you going? 2 other sisters leave. And then her brother leaves. And just they're we can't stay. But I don't know why none of them took her. Maybe because she was the youngest or something. And she would just have to leave when she was able to. So everyone abandons her. So abandonment is another theme in this movie. So she gets abandoned. She's the only one left with the violent alcoholic father, but in the movie she says, I have learned how to deal with him. You mostly just stay away. And he did show her a little kindness. I don't think he beat her up as much as the others. She's the only one left there. But eventually, even her own violent alcoholic father abandons her too. So she's completely abandoned and left alone to raise herself and allow nature to basically raise her out here alone in the marshes. She actually has to boat to town, to the nearest store. She takes a little boat, which I think is really cute. But the movie is such a beautiful display of how fucked up situations can create the most beautiful, deep people, most observant, intelligent. Not that you have to grow up in messed up situations in order to be observant and intelligent. I mean, those were characteristics that were most likely her own. You know what I'm saying? But I don't know. whatever. So the thing is that she actually becomes a naturalist because she's so nature surrounds her. It's just her and nature. That's it. So she observes all like the shells and birds and animals. She draws them. She's an immaculate artist, and takes note of the behaviors of nature, and she gains a good understanding about how nature works just by observing it and living in it. And she is ridiculed by the townspeople. Nobody really cared that she was abandoned, but she didn't really want to bring attention to herself anyways because she didn't want to be picked up by social services. This movie takes place in the 60s, so things were different. Probably if that were today, she definitely would be picked up by social service in a heartbeat. But she was able to fly under the radar because she knew she didn't want to go to a group home. Like, that would be the worst, She would have rathered stay secluded. I think she felt safe. She felt isolated, she felt lonely and abandoned, but she also felt safer being with nature, being with what she had known her whole life. So I think that part of the movie is really deep, and I really connected with that, and so all right. So anyways, in town she's very ostracized. So they call her the marsh girl. They just make fun of her that she's weird, but actually she's absolutely beautiful, stunning. She's intelligent. She has the depth of character that those people in town would wish that they had. So all right. So there's this other in the movie when she's young, she's probably like 8 or 9 or 10 around this time. She as she's boating on the marshes, she got a little lost because it's like a little maze out there. But she found a friend. I forgot the name of the other main character who becomes her friend, this young boy, and he helps her out. And they know each other even as they get older, so into their teenage years, and they actually end up falling in love. And he realizes, and she tells him that what they would do is they would leave feathers for each other because she was obsessed with feathers of different birds, and she would classify them and shit. So he left her a note, but she couldn't read the note. Nobody had showed her how to read, and she didn't go to school. But she was highly intelligent, and that spoke to me as well. Yeah, just because you don't know how to read doesn't mean that you're dumb. She was highly intelligent, just hadn't learned how to read. So this guy comes along, her friend, and she's like, yeah, I can't read your note. I don't know how to read. And he's like, well, I can teach you how to read. So he teaches her how to read. Boom. No problem. She learns how to read. Adds to her intelligence even more. So he's like, you have, he goes in her house and he sees all of her drawings and everything and all her collections of the naturalist's items. And he's like, you can publish these books, you know what I'm saying? But she's afraid. She never left where she lives, and she's afraid of people because her introduction to people and society was that they will ostracize you. She tried to go to school once, and she was actually barefoot. She had no shoes. When all her family, even her father, had abandoned her, she tried to go to school, but the kids started bullying her. She left. She was like, fuck this shit, which was a good move, She did end up learning how to read. It was no big deal. So she learned how to read, and the boy, as they get older, they fall in love. He teaches her how to read. They're like puppy love. They love each other so much. But he's like, I need to go to college. I need to go away to college. I want to study biology, and it was one of those situations where they're like, we're from this small town. There's nothing for me to do here. I need to go out there to be successful. So he's like, I'll come back. I'll come back. She's like, no, you're going to leave me. You're going to leave me. And there was the display of that abandonment, right? Because if all you know is abandonment, that's obviously going to be a fear for you if you fall in love. Like, they're going to leave you. They're going to abandon you. You just know it. So to see that abandonment play out in her life, again, was interesting. Of course, this is just a movie, but I could see this happening in real life too. But he goes, no, I'll be back on July 4th. So she waits for him on July 4th on the beach, waiting for him to pull up with his boat, and he never shows up. So that really sucked. So then this other guy, young guy, comes along, who's the third main character in the movie, the guy who's found dead. And they basically accuse her of killing him. They're like, the Marsh girl did it, you know? And the whole time I'm like, the person watching the movie is like, nah, we see the Marsh girl. She's beautiful. She's intelligent. She's gentle. Like, she wouldn't hurt a fly. You know what I'm saying? So this lawyer from town decides he's going to represent her just because, I don't know, like, I think he's seen her grow up when she was little too. And I think he had a heart for her. So he represented her. He defended her. And, anyways, rewind, because the movie goes forward to the court case and then it goes back to the present time or whatever. So this other guy from town, young guy, starts pursuing her, and he's like, but you can tell that all he wants is sex, and he's abusive and he's controlling. He's just bad. He's a bad guy, although he doesn't display that, but you can feel it. You can sense that he's got rage and anger issues. So he starts developing a relationship with her, and in the beginning she's like, he wants to have sex with her right away. She's like, oh, she gets upset, and he's like, no, let me make it up to you, I'm sorry. But that's just his way of drawing her back in. So unfortunately, she does end up losing her virginity to him. She didn't lose her virginity to the guy she was actually in love with, because he was like, no, let's not. I don't want to hurt you, because he knew her history. He knew how much she had been abandoned, and he knew he was going to go away to college, and he didn't want to like harm her. So anyway, this other guy pops her cherry, and she just stays with him because she thinks it's better than being alone. It feels better than being completely lonely. So by this time they're older teenagers, and so he continues to be in this fake relationship with her, and she ends up finding out he's really rude too. Like, the first time she brought him to her house, she has all her drawings and stuff like that. He starts picking them up and go, oh, what's this, and throwing them on the floor. You're like, oh my god, this guy is fucking insane. He's gonna harm her in some way. So, but she had experience with abusive people since her father was a violent alcoholic, and this kid drank too. That adds to it. So what ends up happening is she finds out, because she goes to town one day, and my AC unit just went on. She goes to town one day and she sees him with a group of girls, and she's like, hey, and then he acts like he don't really, like, he knows her but he don't know her. He's like, yeah guys, this is so-and-so, and they're like, yeah, it's the Marsh girl. And the girl that he's with goes, hi, my name is so-and-so, I am engaged to him, I'm his fiance. So this guy's like trying to live a double life, trying to get in the Marsh girl's pants on the side. This guy was a true narcissist too. Meanwhile, living this double life. So of course the Marsh girl, whatever, gets upset. She's like, oh, fuck this. So he tries to go after her. Not the same day. He ends up leaving, acting like he don't really know her. Then he tries to come for her and say like, oh, I'm sorry, I have to live a double life or whatever. And she's like, I don't want anything to do with you. So, narcissists can't take rejection, you know what I'm saying? So he took that as it's like, especially like a really psychotic one, and he was a real psycho. Like, rejection, you can't reject them, because basically that means that they'll hurt you or they'll kill you. So she was like, I don't want anything to do with you. And he was like, and I was like, at this point in the movie, I'm like, yo, he is gonna smack her. Boom, he smacks her, because they can't take that rejection. So they're not gonna take that. You're gonna do what they say, is basically how they think. So he smacks the shit out of her and punches her too, I think, and then proceeds to rape her, say like, you're mine or whatever. But thankfully she was able to grab a rock and hit him on the fucking head, and he got knocked out, which was even worse though, because she knew, because of her father, that these people, they don't take lightly to getting hit last, that they're gonna get the last hit, you know what I'm saying? She knew that he was gonna be after her, and she was afraid. So anyways, fast forward to the court, they find her not guilty of this guy's death, because what happened was, he died where I don't know what you call them, but in the marshes they had this thing you can go up and you can view the whole marsh from this really big height. But the town sheriff was trying to get them to take that thing down because the grates were real, it was just like kind of unstable, and like somebody could get hurt or die. Well, the lawyer found this document saying that the sheriff was writing to the U.S. Forestry or whatever to take these things down so that nobody would get hurt or die. Basically, since they had no evidence to link her to the crime, like they had no proof, they had a good story, but they had no factual evidence, like no fingerprints, no footprints. And because the high tide came in, it washed away any footprints or anything that there would have been. So they had no facts to prove, to link her to his death, really, you know what I'm saying, except that they had a relationship and things like that. That's it. Of course, everyone in town was accusing her of murdering him. They were like, she did it. But since they had no evidence, the lawyer was able to, prove that they had no evidence, and she got proven not guilty, which was really a relief. So you're thinking, okay, yeah, I'm thinking the whole time, yeah, she's not guilty. That's awesome. Like, I want to know who did it, though. I want to know, was it an accident, or did, because her first love had come back. He came back from college, and he was like, I made a mistake. I shouldn't have left you. And they end up being together. So I thought maybe he did it because he knew that that guy hit her, because he saw the bruises on her face. So I want to know who did it. Anyway, the movie shows how her and her first love, they end up being together, and they grow old together. And then they show her on the marshes, old, like with gray hair and everything like that, on the boat. And she's talking about how she wants to die peacefully, She dies right there on the boat in the marshes. And her husband, they show her husband come. And the movie is really good. She even ends up purchasing that land to prove that she owns it. Like, she paid the taxes on it. It was like 300 acres of marsh she owned. It was actually quite beautiful. She ends up owning this marshland and is a naturalist and becomes, a published author and everything like that. So her husband finds her dead in the boat. Then in the movie they show him going through her stuff, and he finds that this book, and she's talking about nature and predators and stuff like that, predators and prey, and surviving for your life, and that's how nature works. And in the book, as he's flipping through the pictures, he sees a photo. She draws a picture of the guy who, was abusive towards her. And in the book is this necklace that she had given him. She took it back. He found it in the book. She hid it in the book. Airplanes. So, which leads to the assumption that she actually did kill him, because she knew that if she didn't kill him, that he would basically kill her. So, because he was not going to live with the fact that she beat his ass and that she's rejecting to be with him. He was going to kill her. So she killed him, and she got away with it. which was good. So this is a case where, the victim takes the bully into her own hands because she knows that she has to do it to survive. And she did it. And she grew old with the love of her life, happily. And then he finds out at the end, like, oh, wow, she did kill his ass, and he's just like, he's like shocked, It just was all around a fantastic movie.